Hello there everybody, Sam's Trades here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to another review. Today I have another train pack to unbox for you, and this time it's by Hatton's. I've had my eye on today's train pack for quite a while. It's one that I've always been quite interested in. It is this. It is the Hatton's Railhead Treatment Train Pack, which consists of 2 FEA wagons and of course the 6 railhead treatment modules. And yeah, like I say, I've always been really interested in these. They have been around, they've been available for quite some time, but when they were first sort of released, they cost £118. And don't get me wrong, that could still be very, very good value for all I know. But of course I have to be very careful about what I buy for the channel, whether or not it's going to be worth it, whether or not people are going to be really interested. So I might have decided at the time that it was just a little bit too much money. However, just before Christmas, the price of these came down quite considerably, so that I was able to pick this one up for just £99. And of course, that is more my kind of price, and therefore I have one in my hands. And actually, I'm really glad I went for this in the end, because looking through the front of the box, I can see that this might have actually been a good idea. So today, I'm really looking forward to getting this out and finding out what this is like. If you too like the looks of this and you'd like to get one for yourself, I will include some affiliate links down in the description. For now though, let's unbox this, let's see what we get inside and find out what it's like. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing I really noticed when this pack arrived was how modular it is. I don't know why, but I sort of assumed that they would be sort of ready assembled with the modules actually on the FEA wagons already. But no, it turns out they are separate units which you can put on at your leisure, which is of course great. That gives you a lot more options in terms of customising. I suppose it means that you could use the wagons for other things, although I'm not sure why you would buy the RHTT if you wanted to do that, because I'm pretty sure Hattons do offer this kind of wagon individually. But then again, the railhead treatment trains aren't used all year round. It's quite rare to see them, I think, so it's quite nice that these wagons can be used when you're not looking to use the railhead treatment train, which I think is pretty cool. And also notice on the front of the box you do have a drawing which shows where each of the modules should be fitted on the wagons. I'm not sure whether that's important. I don't know, maybe you can put them on in any order you like, but I think I will probably follow this diagram because presumably they won't have put the wrong information on the front of the box. Anyway, let me show you the end of the box. Both of the boxes inside the pack have the same thing on them, so it's H4-RHTT-001. It is a railhead treatment train, sandite, I think that's the chemical, or one of the chemicals they use, with 2 wagons and sandite modules. So that kind of explains a little bit more about this. Okay, we'll get this out then. Oh, by the way, look. Packaging design courtesy of Dapple Limited, I think. Anyway, let's get this out and have a look, shall we? So these are not two, they have the same label on the box, these 2 boxes inside, but they are not the same thing, which is really interesting. So let's start with the top one then, shall we? Here we go. And yeah, you'll notice the packaging has actually been printed the right way up this time. It doesn't matter, of course. Right, let's pull this out then and see what this is like. I've heard great things. These are good quality, and we will find out just the extent of that quality when we take a close look. Anyway, here we go. Let's take a look at the detail bag. So what have we got inside here? So quite obviously we have some sort of direct coupling system which will eliminate the need for the tension locks, which are, yes, they are fitted to the model already. That's good. And then you've got the usual kind of buffer beam details. It looks like we have some screw link couplings. I'm not sure whether they're static or not, and also the vacuum pipes and such. So that's quite nice. I quite like the alternative coupling option there. That's pretty good, isn't it? Might be a bit more realistic, I suppose. Right, let's pull the top of the packaging apart. It's very well designed, the packaging, isn't it, for the most part. Let's have a look at the wagon first then. Now, apparently, these are die-cast, and yes, it does feel as though that is the case. Right, let's take a close look, shall we? Wow, so yes, this is a heavy die-cast wagon, which is quite impressive because obviously if this was plastic, it would be quite flimsy and unsubstantial, wouldn't it? There is a lot of detail fitted to this. In fact, something has already come off in my fingers. This is stuck to my hand. I'm not even sure where that came from now. Ooh, that's going to be, I might have to, maybe I could compare it with the other wagon, perhaps, see where that came from. I'll put that somewhere safe. So yeah, I mean, it seems the level of detail has come at a bit of a cost, and that cost being that the things are quite fragile, maybe overly fragile. I'm going to have to, oh, I was going to say, I'm going to have to be very, very careful with it. Bits are dropping off all over the place, so I do think we've got a bit of a quality problem with this. So we've got this wheel that has come off. Let's put that to one side. Oh my God. So some assembly is going to be required. Ah, that's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Because the die-cast made me think these were going to be real quality. But no, we do have bits dropping off left, right and centre from this. So I'm going to put that to one side before the whole thing falls to pieces. Then I'll probably get some tweezers later on and lift it with those. Right, let's have a look at some of the RHTT modules then. How are these packaged? All right, so they've got their own sort of cover over the top to protect them. That's good news. Right, let's take a look at this. Now, I believe the RHTTs consist of 3 different modules. I'm not sure what this one would be yet. I suppose this could be one of the pumping modules. It does say on it Sandite module. And unlike the wagon, I'm pleased to say the quality of this feels much, much better. These handrails are really good and sturdy, which is great. And there is still quite a lot of detail fitted to these. You've got all this separately fitted wiring. I suppose it will be wiring. It is quite fragile. It does kind of move when you touch it, but it is at the moment still all fitted to the model, which is good. So that is the first module. Let's put that somewhere safe. Let's look at the second one, which I believe is different again. This is really quite cool. It's a very complicated thing. You can kind of see why this would be quite an expensive thing, because it isn't just the same modules duplicated, is it? This is module number 2 now, and these are not even part of the wagons. Look at this. I mean, the print work on this is absolutely stunning. There is a huge amount of print work on there, isn't there? That is really quite impressive. So there we go, that is the second different module. And then we have the third one, which is more obvious. I think it's more obvious what this one is. This one looks like a tank, maybe a water tank. Let's have a look. Wow, and this one's very, very different again, isn't it? All nicely printed again. You've got the network rail printing. Again, an awful lot of detail on this thing. Look at all the pipe work and such, all the different water fittings and plumbing. Wow, that is really something, isn't it? Right, so that is the first pack opened. Let's grab the other box then and see how this one differs. I assume some of the modules are going to be the same, but yeah, we'll get it out and find out, see what the quality's like on the other wagon. I'll be very interested to see. Alright, so it appears to have the same detail bag. I'll just check that that does appear to be the same, so I won't show you that again. Right, let's pull off the top and see what the quality is like on this wagon. Ooh, already I can see something a bit funny going on with the buffers. Should the buffers be pointing at odd angles like that? I'm not sure. Right, so we have got lots of details loose in the pack. You've got some more of these little things again. I was hoping to use this wagon to figure out where they go, so the fact that they have both come off perhaps suggests that that is not going to be the case. This sucks actually, doesn't it? For £99, it is a real pity that these details are not staying on the model. I suppose this is the problem with including such a high level of detail. If they're not thought through 100% properly, they're not going to stay fitted, are they? And that definitely seems to be the case with this. The buffers, I am actually able to straighten just with my fingers, although that does mean that they're not very sturdy, although they don't seem to be sprung or anything, so that makes that a little bit simpler, I suppose. Okay, so it seems to be more or less the same sort of thing. I mean, the positive is definitely the amount of die cast on here. That is fantastic. The negative is that the level of detail is so incredibly high that there are just going to be details dropping off them. I think 2 out of 2 proves that that is the case. So again, I'm going to be really careful. It's also quite awkward figuring out where to hold this thing where you're not going to be touching the details, but I think I figured that out in the end. Right, here we go then. Let's have a look at the module. So it looks like we've got 2 tanks and then another of what I called one of the pumping modules. I don't think that's correct though. I should figure this out if I can. Okay, so there's another one of the tanks. I think that is the same as the first tank I showed you. Yes, it appears to be, unless there are some subtle differences that I have not noticed. So I'm guessing the same will be true of the next one. So we'll just go a little bit more quickly with this. There we go. Yeah, looks very, very good. These are good, actually. The modules are the best part of this so far, I think. They look like they're incredibly detailed. I mean, there's more detail on each of these modules than there would be on sort of a standard open wagon or something. So I suppose from that perspective, the price seems all right, doesn't it? Okay, there we go. That's the final module, which again appears to be the same as the first one I showed. Okay, very interesting. Let's pull some of these back in. I guess what I'll do now is I will tell you a little bit about what I was able to research about the railhead treatment trains. and then I will have a go at putting some of the modules on board as shown by the diagram, and then we'll take a look at some of the details. Should be fun, let's do it. The RHTTs were made up of FEAF container wagons, and they used 3 different types of module for treating the rail heads. And as we've seen, these 3 modules consist of water tanks, pump platforms and sandite applicators, and together these treat the rails with water jets or a mixture known as sandite, which we've also seen of course, and this consists of sand, aluminium and adhesive. And this is effective in the autumn and winter months for clearing the rails of leaves and other seasonal debris. So there you have it, up close and personal, one of the railhead treatment wagons. I've decided to show you this one because it has one of each of the modules, which were reasonably easy to put onto the model. There are little sort of nodules, perhaps I'll describe them as, on the wagon itself, onto which you can place the modules. The modules go onto the nodules, and then those are held into place reasonably snugly, although they are a very loose fit, and it is a bit awkward to get them in the absolute correct position. Once those are on, provided you don't pick up the wagon or try to move it with your hands, they do seem to stay on, which is good. Unfortunately though, this experience has been spoiled by the quality problems. Between the 2 wagons I've had to repair 6 different parts, and that does not include the pieces that are still fitted to the wagons but are quite obviously wonky and misfitted. As you can see, there's all sorts of different pipework and different parts that just falling to pieces, maybe slightly bent or misapplied, and I think the main cause of that is just the sheer level of detail. There comes a point where a model becomes so detailed and so complex with so many parts fitted to it that the model just becomes impractical. And I think when you can't get a model delivered to your house, let alone unboxed in one piece, then that point has been reached, unfortunately. And I hate to say that because I've had great experiences with Hattons in the past, particularly with rolling stock, but at £99 or possibly £118 if you paid that, that is a problem. This is not a kit, this is supposed to be ready to run, and it's really, really sad to have to say that because obviously the effort has been put in to make these super detailed. There's definitely an effort to achieve quality as well. I mean, you've got a lot of heavy die-cast construction on these wagons. Look, you've even got proper brass bearings on the axles, which is a quality feature that I've never ever seen on a 00 gauge wagon. So like I say, there is the attempt there to make these wagons absolutely incredible, and looking at it here, it certainly does look absolutely incredible, doesn't it? However, you didn't see the last half an hour with me getting really quite frustrated trying to stick all the pieces back onto this thing. Anyway, let's take a look at the level of detail. If I just do a sweep of the wagon itself, you can see just how many separately fitted parts there are on here, and it is no wonder, I suppose, that some of those found their way off. The bogie detail is absolutely incredible, and I believe these must be the applicators or the water sprayers, these little things, because they're not fitted to every bogie, so I'm guessing that is where the railhead treatment takes place. These were the main culprit for dropping off. The buffer beams look fantastic. I mean, this whole area is die-cast, so you've got that really nice finish going on there. Not an awful lot of detail just here, but of course you can fit that if you want to. We don't have sprung buffers or anything, although the buffers do move, but perhaps just not in the way they were designed. Yes, they do have a habit of keep getting wonky because they're not applied properly, which is a real shame. Let's take a look at the water tank, where you can see that the decoration is absolutely superb, and that is consistent across the whole train pack, to be honest with you. So as you can see, lots and lots of printed detail, all of it very accurate and precise, no problems in the quality there. And in fact, that is true of the detailing as well on the separately fitted modules. Yet I'm not aware of any pieces dropping off these at all. Let's take a look at the next one. I'm guessing this is the pumping platform. That's just a guess, I'm sorry if that is incorrect. But again, we do have these high quality handrails which are good and sturdy. I haven't had a problem with those, which is really, really good. The amount of print work on this particular module is absolutely amazing. Look at all of the warning signs and everything, really, really impressive, particularly along the bottom. And again, loads and loads of print work there. And the moulded detail is quite complex as well. There's all sorts of different grills and awful lot going on, to be honest, given that this is just a tiny part of a much larger train pack. And then on the end, you can see we have the final of the 3 modules. This is the Sandite module, I believe, once again. And again, the level of detail is really impressive. There's quite a wealth of separately fitted parts. Look here, I mean, the detail is absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? It has been overshadowed a little bit by the poor quality, but I do want to stress how absolutely amazing the level of detail is on these wagons. So overall, it's difficult not to be impressed by these, particularly once you've got the jigsaw puzzle back together and it's all looking great like this. It's easy to see why they cost what they do, and this is easily one of the most detailed items of model railway rolling stock that I've ever owned. But unfortunately that has been accompanied with a few issues, which is a great pity. Anyway, let's get these down onto the track. We'll do some rolling tests with them. I will check the weight, for instance, tell you what we're dealing with, and then hopefully we will enjoy these a little bit more, get them running, and do some railhead treatment on the Samstrains Railway. Alright, let's give it a try. So there we have it, the RHTT down onto the track, ready to be tested. First though, the question arises, what on earth should I run this with? Which locomotives would pull the RHTT? Well, quite incredibly, Hattons offer something that I'm not aware of any other manufacturer offering. And that is this. This is the Railhead Treatment Train Formations, Part 1, Classic Traction. So this shows you in no uncertain terms exactly how the railhead treatment trains would run. You can see this includes locomotives such as the Class 20, the Class 37, the Class 40, the 47, the 56, the 73. So there are quite a lot of options for you actually. And I think it's quite remarkable that Hattons actually offer this as well, because that has given me a lot more confidence that what I'm doing is going to be reasonably right. So I've gone for the first option, the Class 20. There is the BR Green Bachmann Class 20. I do have 2 Class 20s. I have an old Lima one in the same livery, which I thought about running, and I might still do that later on, but I'm not too keen on testing these for the first time with 2 different locos from different brands pulling and pushing on the wagons. I just don't think that would be a fair test, so I'm not going to do that straight away. I've set up the modules as shown on the diagram on the front of the box, and as you can see, the 2 wagons here are quite nice and free rolling. I will now show you the rolling test though to find out whether or not those bearings actually make a difference. So the first wagon actually looked as though it was struggling to pick up a bit of momentum there. It didn't do too badly, it managed to make it just beyond the signal box, but notice as it reached that curve the momentum seemed to be zapped out of it. So it does seem that on curves these wagons do encounter some resistance. I'm not sure why that would be. Maybe it's the bearings, maybe it's the details getting in the way, I'm not entirely sure. I tried it with the other wagon. This one was slightly better. It looked as though it was gaining a lot more momentum than the first wagon, but as soon as it hit the curve the same thing happened. There's obviously some resistance there. Is that going to make a difference in practical terms? Well, no, because most of these formations show just the railhead treatment train with 2 locomotives. Any 2 locomotives from this list, it doesn't matter which you pick, they are going to have no problems whatsoever in hauling just these 2 wagons with the RHTTs on board. And the weights are reasonably impressive. The wagons alone weigh 161 grams each. The modules are very, very light. They weigh around 10 grams. Some of them are less, some of them are a little bit more, but on average it's about 10 grams. So that with the modules on board, they weigh 195 grams. So I would say that's about right. I think 161 grams for the wagons alone is reasonably impressive, because on their own they are quite bony things, aren't they? And that metal construction does wonders for the weight there. So let's reverse the Bachmann Class 20 into the train. Let's check the coupling. I'm using the couplings that were fitted to the RHTT. I'm not going to be trying the alternative coupling method today, although maybe I will do at some point if people would like to see that. For now though, let's test the RHTT now that it is coupled and find out whether or not it can actually handle the various tricky and unpleasant curves and track work on my layout. Here we go then. I'm not sure what kind of speed these will be doing. I would imagine they're not going to be flying along at 90 miles an hour, so we'll settle for somewhere between 40 and 50 speed, and let's see how it gets on. Alright, I guess this is the moment of truth. The couplings seem to be having a bit of a struggle there, but nothing has derailed, although those couplings really look like they were about to disengage. We'll see how we get on around the rest of the room. Yeah, seems alright thus far actually, no problems. I suppose it is quite difficult with these units being so long. The couplings are a bit of a problem, aren't they? Let's have a closer look at how those couplings behave on the second radius. Now, this is going to test my camera work now, try and keep the couplings in shot. Yeah, you can see they just disengage there. So that is not ideal, not sure what they could really do about that. and it certainly doesn't cause derailments because the couplings are very, very free to rotate and move. In fact, I took a shot of this so you can see just how free the couplings are, and I think that is the saving grace. If there was any stiffness or the couplings getting stuck at any point in that movement, we would be seeing derailments for sure. Although if I had to say, second radius is not a good idea. It seems to be working just fine, but I'm not too keen on the idea of the outer coupling hook becoming disengaged like that. Yeah, there's definitely something a bit funny in the design of these couplings. Watch this, if I really gently apply some tension to the two units, the couplings bow. They bow outwards like that. That's not right, is it? Look at that. One goes one way, the other goes the other way. That could explain why I'm seeing the odd uncoupling. The gauging, I should say, the gauging is absolutely fine. The back-to-back averaged between 14.5 and 14.6 on each of the axles, which is a little bit on the tight side, but that is more or less the industry standard. That is what most rolling stock measures in at, so I don't think there's any problem at all with the gauging. Now that I've had the headache of putting the models back together and trying to get all of the modules fitted to the wagons correctly and in the right places, it's actually a really, really lovely train pack to run, isn't it? It looks fantastic. That great level of detail finally stops becoming a problem and starts becoming an asset to these models at the point of being on the track and being run. And the fact that these such huge wagons are handling this layout okay, without any major problems, is quite impressive. I am actually quite pleased with the performance. Besides the quality then, no major concerns with this. £99 is a lot more reasonable for a pack of this level of detail. Whether or not you buy one will depend really on whether or not you're willing to put up with the quality problems. To be honest with you, this is not the kind of thing that you can just see online and think, oh, I'd love to have one of those to run on my layout. It's the kind of thing that only a serious modeller is going to be able to make use of. You have to be prepared to handle these in a way that you've never handled rolling stock before because of how fragile it is, and you have to be prepared to make some repairs. And so if you buy one, I mean, your experience is going to be different to mine to an extent. As long as you're prepared for that, I guess I can recommend these. Otherwise, if you're just looking for something good to run, I would probably recommend looking at something else. Let's have some ratings then for the Hatton's RHTT. Here they are now. As you can see, the level of detail is the saving grace of this model. I've given it 5-star because the actual level of detail was absolutely phenomenal. So the decoration alone was mind-blowing. The sheer number of tampo prints on this model is mind-blowing. The number of separately fitted parts is absolutely mind-blowing. The finish is fantastic as well. I love the die-cast of the wagon. The level of detail I think is easily deserving of 5-star. Performance is a little bit less good. I've given it just 3-star on performance. Overall, they're reasonably free rolling, but we have seen other rolling stock which is much more so, and that handles curves quite a lot better. Also, the couplings are a little bit touch and go. Yes, on second radius, but kind of on third radius as well. They really are stretched to their limits, and I have seen the Class 20 become uncoupled once or twice from the RHTT because of that. So, I mean, bear that in mind. Again, this is not a model that you're going to want to pick up just for fun. If you haven't got wide sweeping curves, I would very seriously think about whether or not this is suitable. Overall, though, no major problems with the performance. They are a lot better than I expected, actually. The major problem here is quality, unfortunately. I've had to give this 2-star. Now, it isn't terrible. I mean, you've got all of that die cast, which is fantastic. That gives it at least 1 point. And you've got the proper bearings on the axles, which just, in my opinion, shows that the intent was there to create a high quality model. However, I think it just boils down to these being too darn complicated. The factory just couldn't handle it, even the packaging couldn't handle it. You've got bits dropping off left, right and centre, pieces that are not fitted correctly, and even the very act of lifting up the model is an ordeal. Put your hand in the wrong place for just a second and be prepared to spend the next half an hour fixing your mistake. Yes, you're not going to be buying these for fun. They're very, very serious models. At the very least, they require the maximum possible care in handling, and at the very most, they require quite a lot of reassembly before they look to be in a good state. It's a great pity about the quality, shame about that. Value for money then, RRP £118, that is what these cost for most of their lives I think. They're now down to £99 for the pair. On the one hand, there is value there, isn't there? I mean, the level of detail is absolutely stunning and they do look absolutely superb as they run around, so I think had they been put together correctly and if the quality was there, I would say this was actually quite a reasonable price. However, given the problems that I've encountered, that is quite obviously not the case, so I've had to give it 3 stars there. Overall then, that is not a terrible score, but I was expecting it to be a little bit higher. 6.93 out of 10. Let's put that into the logbook. Okay, so it's in 3rd place, just above the Hornby 4-wheeled coaches and below the Oxford 12-ton tankers. Could be worse, could be better, I think. Particularly disappointed in the quality. So there you have it then, folks. That is my take on the Hatton's RHTT pack. Please do let me know what you think. Was I too harsh? Was I not harsh enough? Do let me know down in the comments. I suppose, more importantly, if you own one of these RHTT sets, do let me know. What was your experience like? Did you find them too fragile? Were there any bits broken off for you? I'd really like to hear about whether or not this is an isolated issue or not. As I've already said, I don't think it is. I think I saw too many breakages for that to be the case, but I could be wrong. That is just my opinion, so please do get in touch if you have an opinion either way on the RHTT. For now though, I will say thank you so much for watching, thank you for joining me, I appreciate you watching as always, and I will see you very, very soon on the next one. So you look after yourselves, and I'll say cheers everybody.